It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chris.
It's time to take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Be sure to listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and other popular podcast platforms. We also bring you Inside the Podcast each week, where you can view the podcast via our YouTube channel. Join the thousands who watch each week. Thanks to our partners, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, the Insurance Alliance Group LLC, our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. And our donors, Justin O'Neill, Winsight Media, and Redwood Investments. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Here's your host, Curtis Cross.
Welcome to episode 23 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I'm Curtis Cross, your host, and with me as always are coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Each week, we invite you to the table and into the studio for our podcast where we discuss high school, college, and pro sports, along with the occasional conversation that we feel must be had. We enjoy mixing it up, hosting a variety of guests, and building our audience. Listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and just about anywhere podcasts can be found. You can also come inside the studio with us via YouTube each week. Greetings to each of our listeners and viewers. This is episode 23. We'd like to thank our partners, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, the Tamara Cusick Team, and Insurance Alliance Group LLC. Last week, episode 22, was part 2 of our Coach Talk series, and we thank the more than 4,000 of you who tuned in to catch Christy Winters Scott and Coach Dawn Brown, who joined the conversation. So go back and check out our episode 22 with Christy Winters Scott and Coach Dawn Brown. Now, let's hear from the crew. Fellas, how are we doing this week?
Oh, you want me to start up?
Yeah,
here?
I want you to start up because I got some.
You got things going on right now. I walked in this little studio here, and Coach Turner was a little fired up, for good reason to be fired up. Weekend was great. Got the Christmas tree, by the way.
Oh, you did?
Got the Christmas tree. And,
strapped it to the roof, brought it home?
And I am anti this early, always.
Okay.
Never want to go this early because it's going to dry out in like 2 weeks, and then Christmas hasn't even happened yet. But since during this pandemic,
Coach.
less places are selling trees. The prices have sparked up a little bit as well. And I got a note from our parish. You know, they were down. We unloaded just under 1,000 trees last weekend. And in 1 week, I think they're down to under 100 now. Wow. So I had to go there. I had to go get it.
Had to go get a tree.
So put it in there, and after one night, the water came down, but keep filling it up.
Did you get it? Is it straight? Is it upright?
It is, but you know what? How many times you done that, and then you take a step back, and you're like, no, that's not.
Lean into the side a little bit.
Right. Well, that's not right. Cole, move it this way. No, put your hands there. Make sure you got gloves on because that sap when you put your hands in there.
Or the pricklies.
All sorts of things going on. So the tree is up, but real quick before you go, I want to give a shout out because to some of our college players, real quick. Avery Myers, University of Michigan, was announced that he was a captain for the second time.
I saw that on Twitter.
One of my guys. And 2-time captain. He's coming back for that kind of 5th year. He had an injury, but plus the pandemic. But one of our guests, Luke McCaleb, is a 2-time captain as well. So we've had, I think, about 9 college captains. I just want to give a shout out to those guys because that's a big deal.
Testament to the program, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, Coach Turner, talk to us.
Here we go.
Great weekend.
Great weekend. That's all I'm asking about.
Like you, got the Christmas tree up. Got that going. I'm a Christmas guy, so Christmas is my favorite time of the year. So got that up. And I got to see all my guys play, and all of them are doing really well. Like whether their teams won or lost, they're all making an impact for their teams, and that's been great to watch and exciting to watch.
Buzzer beater style?
Yeah. Miles Dredd was 0 for 4 on the evening, was in foul trouble. Coaches trust him at the end of the game, put him back in. He gets a shot from the corner.
Big bucket.
Big bucket.
Shooters keep shooting, right?
Shooters got to keep shooting. And he hits the game winner, so that was awesome.
Is he an I Street product?
Of course.
Miles, yeah.
Of course. And then
Walking trophies, baby.
T. Williams, they had an overtime win where he and Hunter Dickinson, a rival, but those two have always played together on the club circuit, stepped up as freshmen to help lead Michigan to an overtime victory, and then came back again and had another big game the other night and got them another victory. All right. So it's been fun watching these guys all contribute. Alan Blunt, Chris Likes had a big night the other night.
I got a tweet from the Miami Herald. He did some big things. Was his ankle hurting?
He rolled his ankle.
Okay.
Came down on somebody else's foot, rolled it. So fingers crossed that he'll be good to go tomorrow night as they have the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
And Prentice is averaging 23.
Yeah, so he 23.
Up at Notre Dame.
23 in the first game, and then last night he went for 18 and 8, something like that.
Okay.
So he's averaging right around 21. And then
Oh, we're not done.
Monday, the spoiler.
Hold on. The Gonzaga young men keep doing well. Please continue with your Monday.
And then today, about an hour or two ago, I got hit with a Tyson blow.
Right. Tyson in his prime or Tyson last weekend?
Tyson in his prime.
Okay.
That's how this one hurts.
Pre-Buster Douglas.
Pre-Buster Douglas. This is when he was whipping everybody's you-know-what.
In like 2 rounds
Mike-
less.
Michael
This was
Spinks.
Michael Spinks in 35 seconds. That kind of a hit.
Wow.
So, DC's Mayor Bowser suspends all sports in DC. And we were supposed to potentially start this week. So, Coach Turner's not a happy fellow right now and very hurt for my players because there's some kids out here who deserve their opportunity. Look, I'm the first and foremost to be pro, stay healthy, stay safe. But I'm watching so many different places move in different ways. I don't know why we can't sit down together and figure this out for these kids.
All right. Our engineer is DJ Chrissy.
Yeah.
What is up, DJ Chrissy?
Not much. I had a great weekend, just kind of relaxed, did not put up Christmas decorations at all like everybody else did apparently. But it was fun. I enjoyed it.
And you got a great polo on.
I do. I have some
You
swag.
guys are rocking swag,
right.
G-Zag swag.
A little lacrosse.
Yeah, they are. That's what they do here in the studio. Well, today we welcome ABC's Scott Abraham to the podcast. Scott is the primary anchor of the ABC7 Sports Department and a regional Emmy Award winner. Scott will join us in just a bit to talk DMV sports and a whole lot more. Our starting five, Joey T's 2-minute drill, and more are just ahead in this episode. Let's hit our first break, and we will be back.
I'm Coach Casey O'Neill with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Advertising opportunities are available, so why not gain the exposure of our listeners by becoming a donor, sponsor, or partner? Simply contact our producer, Curtis Cross, and we can get you started today.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend.
Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Be sure to connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube, search Turner and O'Neill and then subscribe.
One Headline is brought to you by
Ray Cruz. Take advantage of historically low mortgage rates for your first, next, or refinance mortgage with Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray believes the home mortgages should be about relationships. With rates as low as 2.875%, you can now save on your monthly mortgage or choose to cut years off your mortgage, saving tens of thousands. To learn more about your options, call Ray Cruz at 301-761 888-222-2278 or apply online at raypcruz.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, our one headline goes as follows. Russell Westbrook is now a Washington Wizard. Gentlemen.
So, you want me to start off?
Go ahead. You can start up.
All right. I'm thinking about this a lot. I was there in Game 6 when Wall hit that three. I had some incredible seats. Lucky and blessed to be there in that Game 6, which sent it to Game 7. Wizards ended up losing, right? Mm-hmm. That was kind of the biggest Wall moment because you had always heard the knock on John Wall. And I know this is about Russell Westbrook, but the knock on John Wall is like he couldn't hit jump shots, right? Wasn't a good shooter. He could drive, he could assist, and play above the rim.
Fast as hell too.
But he worked on that three, and he worked on his shot. Yeah, very fast. But outside of the dunk contest and his career here, and I know how good he was with the community, that's kind of it, right? Like, and I even go back to like Gilbert Arenas too, and we had some fun times with Agent Zero. But look, you got to get us to the Eastern Conference Finals. I need somebody that's going to win games in May and get the Wizards to June. And so Russell Westbrook, look, he's been to the playoffs 10 times. 10 times.
Right.
How many times has Wall taken the Wizards to the playoffs? 2 times? 3 times? Maybe more. I don't know. But he's consistent. He's electric. All I hear about is the hard work he puts in. I think that's going to rub off well on Bradley Beal coming back with Coach Brooks. I'm fired up about it. And, look, the key is can Russell Westbrook come in and help with the Wizards defense? Because they can score with everybody. They can. Wizards can put up points, but can they play defense? Because their games are like 140 to 130. They just don't play defense. I'm excited about it. Most people were bummed to see John Wall go. I think it's awesome, man. But keep in mind in this area, we've seen guys like Jaromir Jagr come into the Caps. We've seen Donovan McNabb, some guys that are a little bit later in their career. I don't think this is one of those moves. I think Russell Westbrook comes in and does some damage.
Coach Turner.
I agree with you.
Wow.
Thank you. I said when they started talking about this trade, one, I didn't want John Wall to go because of what he's meant to communities and what he's done, helping, just being a man for others and helping others. Like he's been that guy. But we've had to deal with a lot of his injuries. Mm-hmm. He not being healthy, and as it sounded over a year ago, it wasn't as much as I think I have to give him and both Bradley Beal credit in terms of just trying to make this work. For whatever reason, it wasn't working. And to gain a guy like Russ, if it's nothing else but to put some butts in the seats, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm fine with that. I do believe this is now as a playoff team. Question is how far they can go.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is your one headline. Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By partnering with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. With thousands of listeners, subscribers, and website visitors, your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Our partners also benefit from our exposure on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and Apple Podcasts. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
Be sure to listen now at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast. Don't miss an episode of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Redwood Investments. We are a private investment firm providing growth capital for acquisitions, roll-ups, and management-led buyouts. Visit redwoodinvestments.com or call 202-333-1395.
Coach Turner here. Check out this week's episode drop and tell a friend to join the team at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill by following, subscribing, and liking the show. Starting Five is brought to you by
Real estate is more than just houses. It's about people too. The Tamara Cusick team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. Visit www.tamara4homes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. The Starting Five. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the starting five questions for each coach, 30 seconds each. They can defer once for each set of starting five. Let's go. Coach O'Neal, question 1, Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches. 5 names, you can only keep 4. Who do you remove? Dean Smith, Coach K, Pat Summitt, John Wooden, or Gino Auriemma? Who are you taking out?
Oh my goodness, those are some solid names there. Same again real quick, and I know I got 30 seconds.
Dean Smith, Coach K, Pat Summitt, John Wooden, and Gino Auriemma.
I got to take one of them out there. I am going to take out Coach K.
Coach K. 1,132 wins and 5 national championships.
And I've mentioned him before on the show. I think he's the best, and I love his style. But just going over those other names,
Dean Smith has almost 400 fewer. Coach Turner, who are you taking out?
Oh, my grandfather went to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Couldn't do that to him.
Who are you taking out, sir?
Dun, 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 dun,
We do have a guest coming up.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. This is hard for me, especially for me. And it's hard to take any of them out, but I'm going to take out John Wooden.
Ooh.
Only because he was in an era where he had everything that everybody else didn't have.
That's true.
He had 10 titles, but he has the fewest wins out of all of them at 664.
I understand that, but at the time, he had all the best players every time.
Yep. Coach Turner, you are making your man cave. What 3 things must you have in it?
Off the break.
Off the break, 3 things you got to have.
Big screen.
We're there.
Big screen. Cooler.
All right.
And when I say cooler, I mean a big cooler, refrigerator.
All right.
And dartboard.
All right. Coach O'Neal,
I was gonna get the dartboard on there.
3 things you got to have in your man cave.
Got to go big old flat screen. Just a bar. Like I know you got the
Right.
cooler. I want the bar.
Right.
I want the stools. I want the whole thing. And then I like the dartboard, but I'm going to go a step further. If I got the big man cave, I'm going with the shuffleboard. You know, the one with
Yes.
the little
Yeah, you are.
done.
Easiest one y'all are going to do right here. Preference, live or artificial Christmas tree?
Live. 100%.
Coach Turner.
Live.
Live. There we go.
He's so focused.
That's the easiest starting 5 question you've ever had.
All right, 2 left.
Best player not to win an NBA championship, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton, or Patrick Ewing?
Oh my goodness.
Pat, you said Charles, Pat, who else? Whose go? Is it mine?
Carl, yeah, it's your go.
Carl,
Or John Stockton?
it was his question, so go ahead. Come on, coach.
I got to go with the big fella,
All right, Pat.
Pat Ewing.
All right. I got one for y'all in a second. Who you got?
I think I would agree with that, but man, it's tough not to root for Chuck. I love me some Charles Barkley.
But
He's
you
the
going to
best.
go Pat, number 33?
Yeah, but you know what? I take it back. I'm going to go Barkley because Pat got a national championship at Georgetown. At least
sure
he had
did.
one of those. So
At least he got to hoist the trophy at some point.
I'm going to go Sir Charles.
Did you realize that Elgin Baylor never won a ring? He went to the
Did
NBA
not
Finals
realize that.
8 times, never won a ring.
So he's the Buffalo Bills of.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills of NBA titles. Ladies and
Sorry,
gentlemen,
Paula.
number 5 goes to you. You can be president or famous athlete. Which would you choose and why?
Definitely famous athlete. And why is because while there is a lot of pressure to be a famous athlete, it's not the same pressure that it is to be the president. Although I think in my sort of very calm, I know you guys look at me like, did he just say he's calm? I could do some decent things politically, but my dream was to play professional sports. That's why.
And that direct deposit looks a little bit different.
Yes.
Coach Turner. You can rule the country.
The
some
president
changes.
doesn't really rule the country.
I
But
mean, you're the figurehead. All right. Take away my power, why don't you?
I think it would be fun as hell to be a famous athlete, travel the world, be able to go wherever I want on vacation, have a ton of money, be the king of my sport. But I'm going with being the president so I can change this damn world because our world is screwed up right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is your starting 5. The starting 5. A Squared Home and Office Solutions. A Squared is the go-to source for home and office network and audiovisual solutions. They will link technology to your lifestyle seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
O'Neill Development is a construction, remodeling, and development firm that has been active in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore since 1975. O'Neill Development specializes in custom residential work, providing extensive pre-construction and construction services. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
Next Level Lacrosse. Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs that stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic. You'll find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit an Idea.
This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
The party begins now.
Dynamic DJ Entertainment. Social gatherings look quite a bit different now. With limited guest counts and social distancing requirements, why not make your next event a virtual event? Contact the experts at Dynamic DJ Entertainment. From happy hour to DJ-hosted events, virtual trivia to nightclub nights, our DJ talent can host birthdays, corporate events, bar and bat mitzvahs, or any event. Don't cancel your event. Make it virtual. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event solution. Visit www.mapdja.com or call 301-942-4500.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest caller joined the ABC team in January of 2016. Born and raised in Utica, New York, Scott Abraham attended Syracuse University and got his start in television at KHAS-TV in Lincoln, Nebraska. He moved on to become the sports director at WBOC-TV in Salisbury, Maryland, before bringing his talents to the DMV. Having covered the Stanley Cup win of the Caps, UVA's national championship, the Washington Mystics running it back to win in 2019, and of course the Washington National World Series win in 2019. He is now here to take a TO with us today. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Scott Abraham. Scott, thanks for joining us today. How's it going, fella?
Good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We are pleased to have you on the podcast. Coaches Turner and O'Neill would like to welcome you as well.
Scott, Coach O'Neill here. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Super pumped to have you here today.
Scott, it's Steve here. Likewise, great having you here today, and appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate it. You're two of my favorite coaches in the area, so always glad to be on with you guys.
Well, Scott, I know you've got a busy evening in front of you here in the DMV, so let's get right into the conversation. You've been able to broadcast for a number of years now. What makes DC area sports the unique atmosphere that it is, from your perspective?
Well, it's certainly never boring. There's always a certain storyline with all of our professional teams that definitely steals the headlines. Definitely keeps you on your toes, keeps you busy. And it's what I love about kind of the news in the sports business is it's different every day. You know, there's always a different story to follow. There's always a different story to chase. So I just think that's kind of the thrill of it. There's no monotony of the same old type of stuff. It's always different. There's always something to talk about in this town.
Scott, Coach O'Neill here. My dream, I'm going to go back a little bit. My dream as a young person was, I loved Larry Bird, and I wanted to play for the Celtics, and I couldn't play for the Celtics. I wanted to play for the Washington Bullets, which is what they were called back then. But then my second dream was to be a sportscaster. And when I met you a few years ago, you did a story on one of our players, Henry Chastain. I'll never forget that.
Yep.
But I've seen the work you've put in, because I follow you on social media. I've met you and talked to you. You know, from back in the day, carrying your own camera to chasing down stories. Tell somebody, the young people listening to our podcast, the work it takes, that grind to actually be where you are today and to keep going. Because I know it's not what it seems on you watch TV and you just see out there. It's a lot of work.
Right. There's a big misconception out there, Casey, that you just show up and you go on TV and talk, but there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes. And I've always had a motto that nobody will ever outwork me. And I kind of embrace the grind, and like you said, I've worked my way up, kind of climbed the ladder here at WJLA. Came in as the number 3 sports anchor in 2016, and now what are we at? Approaching 5 years. I'm the primary sports anchor now at the station. So, and I'm never afraid to kind of do the dirty work, and that's part of the enjoyment of finding those stories, finding those unique stories like a Henry Chastain or a Chris Like, somebody that has a really good story to tell outside of the X's and O's that can really relate to our viewers, and not necessarily sports fans. Like the non-sports fans would gravitate to a great story. And that's where I kind of cut my teeth in a sense and got my, I guess, respect for my superiors and respect for my colleagues. And they gave me more and more opportunities. And I kind of just took the ball and ran with it. And again, I always just kind of try to work hard and just follow my dreams in a sense. And I'm living my dream, especially these last couple of years with all these championships in DC.
Scott, Steve here. That's first of all, a great answer. I mean, just to hear you talk about the hard work, grabbing the bull by the horns and running with it. It's a lot of the things that we as coaches try to instill in our players. Yep. So to hear you, even in your field of work, doing pretty much the same thing and having that same formula to get yourself to where you are now is unbelievable. My question for you is, who are the influencers? Who are the people that you idolized, looked up to, maybe that you even talk to now that mentored you to help you be able to push towards where you are now?
I mean, I don't want to get emotional here, but probably my father. Here's a guy that was a school teacher and a football coach and track coach for 35 years. We're a middle-class family from upstate New York. I was the baby of 4 kids, and my mom was a part-time nurse and basically stayed home and took care of the kids. And here's my dad, just grinding every day in terms of going to work and then being a present father and being, at my school plays or at my athletic events. And then, teachers have the summers off, but he picked up odd jobs of, doing siding on a house or, doing some carpentry work. Any way he can to maybe send me to camp, basketball camp, or send my sister to running camp. He just kind of set the standard of what being what hard work can do, and putting in the sacrifice and allowing me to kind of pursue my dream of going to a very expensive school in Syracuse University. Making those sacrifices, helping me move all the way out to Lincoln, Nebraska, in my first job. I know I would not be where I am today without the guidance of my father and, of course, my mom. So I had a lot of mentors in terms of people in the sports business, but I always fall back to my father in terms of life lessons, and it's bigger than just a sports broadcaster. He taught me, life lessons, and now that I'm a father, I passed on to my daughter.
That's awesome.
You touched on it coming up on 5 years here. So when you come to D.C., of course, the media here is quite different than just about any other market. It's D.C., the home of all things politics, but this is also the home of several media personalities who have become legendary, or at least have launched to even bigger stages. So what does it mean to you to now sit at a sports desk where you are ABC's anchor in D.C.? I mean, we're talking Glenn Brenner, Christine Brennan, we're talking George Michael, we're talking Wilbon Kornheiser. You're in that path. And one day we're going to have a young reporter on our podcast we're going to have to mention you because they're following your path. So what does it mean to sit in that seat where you're following those paths?
Yeah, I mean, I get goosebumps when you just say those names because, you idolize, those individuals, Glenn Brenner and Mr. Michael, and there's just so many talented people that, you know, put in the work here in DC and went on to bigger things. Look at NBC4, Diana Rossini, Dan Helly, Lindsay Zarniak. I mean, they had some heavy hitters over the last couple of years, and I just feel blessed and fortunate to be in the position I am. And obviously, it took a lot of hard work and a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears in a sense over the years to get where I am. But I don't take it for granted. That's why I just continue to kind of push the envelope and try to get those exclusive interviews, try to get those big stories. That's what kind of separates me, I believe, from other, sports anchors in this market is, I feel like nobody's ever going to outwork me. And I always try to pride myself on being two steps ahead of everybody else. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. And that's the best part in being in this pandemic world of living on Zooms and podcasts and Skypes. You kind of have to reinvent yourself over this past year, and I think I'm better for it in the long run.
Well, we talk about you following those footsteps. You've been here coming up on 5 years, so you're making your mark. If you don't feel like you've already made it, I think you have, but you're making your mark. And, DC will chew you up and spit you out, but you're still here. So, I think that's a testament to that hard work. Your parents, that upstate New York kind of guy, because you guys have thick skin up there. I know. I'm married to an upstate New York girl, so I know.
Well, we're used to 20 feet of snow every winter, so there's no other way of developing thick, tough skin. It's those winters are crazy up there.
And I got a Buffalo gal, so I know. Yeah.
Scott,
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Scott, Casey here. So, listen to you talk. One thing I've noticed with you in following you, whether it's Twitter or other social media things, is you've always, even going back to, again, I love knowing people's stories, right? Where you come from, hearing about your father and your mother and your upbringing, but watching, that story unfold, your story, how you connected with the folks in the, the Delmarva area, and then how you told those stories you mentioned about Chris Likes and Henry, and you're still doing that and putting yourself out there. Was that the game plan to kind of, from the beginning, to kind of tell those untold stories and to really put yourself out there? Did you have a game plan set on how you were going to attack and continue to grow your craft?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to find my niche in this market. And I was hired to kind of focus on the high schools in the D.C. area. And as you know, high school sports in this D.C. area, it's a gold mine for high school talent. And there's just so many remarkable student athletes in Virginia, Northern Virginia, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and, of course, in D.C. So there is certainly no shortage of stories. The hardest part is finding those stories and getting those coaches and ADs to kind of play ball with you and help you find those stories. Once you have those stories, that the easy part, that's the hardest part is finding them. The easy part is telling them, because those stories really tell themselves. And I think, as the months kind of passed, as I mentioned, my superiors and colleagues kind of noticed the type of stories I was churning out, and it's really kind of set the bar for me in terms of, hey, this kid can do some good stuff. And again, they just sent some more opportunities my way, and I just climbed the ladder, and I still really enjoy a good story. Doing highlights and telling the X and O's. That's all well and good. I love a good old human interest story of a young man or a young woman overcoming some sort of adversity and shining in whatever sport they are in. That's pretty special, guys.
Let's stay with it. This is Steve again, Scott. Let's stay on the stories. What was the story, and why was it so compelling to you? What is that one story that you think gave you the jump that you brought to the table? You were the only guy that had the story.
Yep.
And what was that story, and why was it so compelling to you?
Yep, it was very easy. It was in February 2016. I was 2 months on the job. I met a young man out in Heritage High School. That's out in Virginia, I believe, Loudoun County. The young man is blind, and he was the announcer for the football and basketball games.
Wow.
And he was the PA announcer introducing the starting lineups and whatnot, and he did everything by Braille. So obviously, he's blind, so he did everything by Braille. And the pipes and the voice on this kid was just, I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable, like so much talent. And during the course of the interview and whatnot, and telling the story, he told me his dream was to be the PA announcer for the Washington Capitals. So the very next day, I emailed my contacts at the Washington Capitals, and I was like, guys, this is the story. Watch the story. This is his dream. Can we do something? And they were all aboard, and that next month, he introduced the Washington Capitals onto the ice for a game.
Oh my goodness.
And that story really just took off and went national. All these various outlets across the country picked it up, and I think that's the story that really kind of put me on the mark in this market.
Scott, Casey here again. Two-part question here. First, I want to know, from covering the Caps to the Nats to the Mystics, even UVA or whatever it is, what has been your favorite moment in covering local, DC area sports out of those? And then the second part, who is the most starstruck? Look, you have to be professional. You interview a lot of big-time athletes and people, but is there ever one athlete, any sport or person, I don't know,
besides being on this podcast,
right?
Of course.
Besides being on the podcast, where you were like, okay, I got to compose myself here because this is the guy or the woman, whoever it is.
All right, so guys, I've been so blessed. In an 18-month span, I covered 4 major championships in this city and surrounding area. I literally lived my childhood dream. Nothing will ever top what the Washington Capitals did in my mind, because you got to remember, you go back to 2018, there was so much pent-up frustration in this city because we were known as the lovable losers. Every single professional sports team fell short since the 91, 92 Redskins. That was the last major championship Washington has seen. It was unbelievable seeing a city come together for that Caps ride.
Yep.
The best moment in my mind was riding down Constitution Avenue on the double-decker bus with Braden Holtby and Lars Eller and watching the sea of red during that parade. I get goosebumps. I get emotional every time thinking about it, just to see a city really just kind of unleash all that frustration and celebrate a major championship. In my mind, that was the most incredible sports moment I ever covered in my life. The one interview that I was shaking in my boots about was with Tiger Woods. I was starstruck.
Wow.
Here's the guy I idolized at such a young age. I grew up playing golf, and he was the guy. And to see him and talk to him at his tournament at Congressional, and the tournament he hosted, the Quicken Loans tournament, no longer in existence, but he did it for a number of years, and getting a chance to interview him and talk to him and be in his presence. My voice was cracking. I was shaking in my boots, but that was a thrill to talk to Tiger Woods.
Unbelievable. Real quick. So I put this all together, by the way. So since you came to town, and I've, being 42 years old, have had to suffer since Washington. Yep. Nobody's won since the old former Redskins in 1991. Yep. So he's the good luck token right here. It's Scott.
So he can't leave.
It's Scott.
Can't go anywhere.
All right, you got to stay. All right.
I'm it. Guys, Nats win, Caps win, Mystics win, UVA wins a major champ. Guys, I'm it.
Bring some luck to the Hoyas, please. And
well,
by the way, we're old enough to remember Constitution Avenue with Metro buses and the Skins in 83 and 87.
Yeah, that is true.
Going down Mark Rippon and all those guys, Doug Williams, and we remember all those.
Right. Even I think good old Steve Turner, you won a WCAC title in my right.
A couple.
16 through what year was it?
I think 2. Now 17, 3. 2.
Yeah. I know
15, 17,
you won
19.
With lights, right?
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
So you're the good luck charm. All right. So we got to keep Mr. Abraham. WJLA, do whatever you have to do. Keep this guy in D.C.
That's right.
Scott, I got. Go ahead, Scott.
I'll be convinced I'm the good luck charm if the Washington football team wins a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. If they win a Super Bowl you know it's all my doing.
You'll be a media god if you do that, sir.
Oh, Scott, my last thing for you.
Yeah.
There are some young men and women who are now looking up to you and want to be able to one day sit in the seat that you sit in. Give me a couple tidbits of advice that you would give to them if you were sitting with them now to tell them some things that they should be looking for or trying to do as they navigate this path to get into that seat that you sit in today.
Definitely be aggressive. Nobody gets anywhere sitting back and letting it come to them. You got to be on the jump. You got to be aggressive. If you want something, you got to go after it. Whether it's emailing, contacting people you need to contact, internships, getting yourself involved. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to be told no a lot of times. I mean, it took me 6 months out of college to get my first job. It's a process. And in anything you want to do, lawyer, doctor, be a TV sports broadcaster, be a teacher, you have to get that experience. You have to get connected. I almost call it like a spider web effect, because if you get connected with somebody, they're going to know somebody that's going to help you down the line, and it just becomes a spider web where it's all connected. So you just got to go for it. You can't sit back. Be aggressive. Have thick skin. Get used to being told no, but you just got to keep plugging away and keep chopping wood in the sense.
Love it. Thank you, Scott.
All right, Scott, we're going to bring this to a close, but we want to bring you in on a podcast staple, which is our starting five. Each week, I ask the fellas 5 questions that they've never been asked on the show. So I'm going to just fire one at you, and I want to see what you got. You get 30 seconds to answer. Or, Chrissy, please play for Scott what happens if he takes longer than 30 seconds. You will get dinged, Scott. So I got 30 seconds. I want you to answer this one. In your Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches, here are 5 names, but you can only have 4. Who do you remove? Dean Smith, Coach K, Pat Summitt, John Wooden, or Gino Auriemma? Who are you taking out of that top 5?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go with Dean Smith. Reason being, I don't know the stats. I really don't know how many championships he won. But the other 4 you named, that's more my bread and butter, and I feel like they've done so much for college basketball. Dean Smith did a lot, but I would take away Dean Smith.
He won 2. Coach K has won 5. Pat Summitt has won 8. John Wooden won 10. And Gino Auriemma has won 11. You did pick the coach with the fewest championships. Yep. We'll make sure that we do not air this in the Chapel Hill area, because they might not like it too much for that one. But you did.
That's funny. My brother went to UNC, so yeah, I know.
Oh, boy. Well, Scott, look, man, you've got a lot of sports to cover tonight. We want to thank you for your time and joining us today. We know you've got a busy night ahead, so we're going to catch you reporting a little bit later, hoping we see and hear highlights from a Washington win in Pittsburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, Emmy Award-winning DMV sports reporter, Scott Abraham. Thanks, Scott.
Scott, thank you. We appreciate you.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you, Scott.
Chrissy. Excellent interview, guys. That was a bunch of fun. Chrissy, please take us to break.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. If you are looking to increase sales and gain exposure, partnership opportunities are available. Contact our producer, Curtis Cross, today to get started. Email turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com to get started.
At Peace Players International, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities of conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
If you have a question for the fellas, Submit your question or show idea right on our website. Go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit Your Idea.
Insurance Alliance Group manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property laws. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Welcome back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Curtis Cross, your host. And of course, Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill are here with me, along with DJ Chrissy. Scott Abraham. That guy's a bunch of fun. He's a firecracker, and he's got a lot of energy. He's finding his niche. And, a lot of people do a lot of jobs for a paycheck or for the fame. I think he's here for the right reasons.
Absolutely. And again, I go back to the questions, that I wanted to hear him answer about the hard work. And that's one thing every guest we have from last week with Christy Winter Scott and Coach Dawn and everyone we've talked to is about that hard work. He has certainly put in that work, going out to Lincoln, Nebraska after college, then going to the Delmarva area and then working his way. And his wife as well is a news personality. So it's in the family. But what I love is I remember seeing him when he did a story for us. And, people don't understand behind the scenes, them carrying the camera or them working and them getting to a certain area, chasing the stories, putting the stories
spending
out
their
there.
own money to get there. Whatever.
Right. And he's certainly, shown hard work has paid off. The part where he was, talking about the caps, but, talking about his dad and just what that meant to him and just great interview. Scott is awesome. And again, he's listening. Thank you for being on our
My takeaway with what you just said, though, is that, so many young folks these days, or people in general, they want it right now. They want it right now. And he's put in his work over 5 years, and he's here. He doesn't sound like he's using this just as a launching pad. Now, I don't know where his career goes in 6 months or 6 years from now, but he's dedicated to, he found his niche. He wants to get those stories that no one else is getting. But, I've spoken to people throughout my travels who, after 6 months or a year, they want to know, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And certainly DC is a hotbed for sports. And, maybe he doesn't stay with sports. I don't know. But a lot can happen here in DC. I'm also glad he identified that here in the DC area, from Loudoun County to Prince George's County to Howard County, Charles County, DC, anywhere you go in Virginia, Maryland, you can go to Frederick. There are stories. Like Michaela Daniels played for, Frederick High School, and she's down at Arkansas, I think Arkansas proper right now. And she is a remarkable point guard whose games I got to call. But there's a lot of talent here. And not just in the private school sector, but in public, and it's a lot to cover.
Right, and you go find it. And then you also ask the difficult questions. I mean, we saw Scott a week or two ago asking John Wall the tough questions, too. He was the guy that came in and asked John this before the trade even happened.
Right.
And so you've got to just be comfortable in your skin and go out there. And
how about him getting that kid some national press
by
announcing the caps?
Unbelievable. So,
Coach Turner, your take on that? That was fascinating.
I think the thick skin stood out to me the most. In knowing that in that field of work that he's in, you're getting the door slammed in your face a lot.
Yep.
Like a lot of times. And I remember him coming in and doing the feature on Chris Likes, carrying their own camera, setting up the interview. Mm-hmm. You would have thought it was a 10-man crew the way it looked when it got to news. So I mean, to be able to be multidimensional in what you do, understanding how all the working parts work to make the story happen. I mean, Scott's done an unbelievable job, and I'm excited for him in terms of where he is in his career and being the lead anchor now. But
he had to roll the dice and carry that camera. If you want the story, you have to go get that story, and it turned out to be a wonderful story.
I think it becomes a story that we talk about a lot on here. Be willing to be the best version of you. Leave everything that you have on the table, no stone left unturned.
Right.
And roll the dice and go for it.
When you ask the question about advice to the young folks about when to get in that field, and it reminds me of what we always say to our players, and it's exactly nothing worth something is just simply given to you.
That's right.
So if and that can go in everything, your job, your marriage, your faith. I mean, you got to work for everything that's worth something. And he certainly works his tail off. So,
well, we're happy to have him here in the DC area.
Yep.
He gets chills talking about Glenn Brenner or George Michael or, all these folks. And that means he respects the craft. He understands, he educated himself on what it means. I mean, I don't know other cities, but I'm guessing if you go to Saginaw, Michigan, or you go to Centerville, Tennessee, the pressure to be a sports reporter is not the same as it is in D.C.
Right.
And that thick skin gets him through, and he's moved his way from third man all the way up to the lead sports anchor. So, that's that perseverance, and that's that don't give up attitude. That's that fall down, get back up, because the door will be slammed. Gentlemen, we're getting down to it in college and pro football. Both the NFL and college football are shaping up their postseasons. There's a lot of conversation, a lot of storylines. Let's start in college football. We had some upsets this weekend, but nothing that shakes up the polls too much. Florida gets a shot to make their case in a couple weeks, December 19th maybe, when they face Alabama. Other than that game, what movement, if any, can we expect in these rankings and the BCS picture?
I think all eyes are on what's going to happen with Ohio State, because they're going to play Michigan, you hope, because Michigan didn't play last week.
Does Michigan play any week, honestly?
No.
Is that what they call it?
I think the eyes are on what Ohio State's going to do, and if people put them in at 5-0 or 6-0,
right?
When Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, the rest of the SEC schools have played.
Coastal Carolina.
How about that?
How about that with BYU coming across the country to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? But it was a good game, and at least they made it happen. That's my number one thing with college football is what's going to happen with the Buckeyes, because the Buckeyes they're talented, but it's going to be the same. I mean, you're going to look at it, it's going to be, Groundhog Day. You're going to have Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Ohio State.
Right.
But like we talked about last week, you might have Florida, you might have Texas A&M. Actually, I don't think Texas A&M will get a shot at it.
I think Florida's the only other team that has a shot at this moment.
Bama's that train's a running, man.
You don't have Colorado at 4-0?
What do you think happens when Clemson and Notre Dame play again, and if Clemson beats them, does Notre Dame still get a shot at it?
I think so.
Well, if Florida beats Alabama, then maybe not.
That's true, because Alabama will definitely still get in there.
Yeah, they're getting
it. We'll see.
It'll be interesting. Coach Turner, what are you liking that you're seeing on the tube with college football, and what movement, if any, are you thinking is going to happen?
I don't think there's much movement other than what we just talked about. I mean, I think the opportunity for Florida is there. They're the one team in the mix of all this that has a shot at it. Like we talked about. Clemson and Notre Dame, if that game goes the other way, does that bump Notre Dame? I would say no, but I've seen crazier things happen.
That's right.
You got it. Turning our attention to the NFL, the NFC East continues to stumble into the conversation with both Washington and Dallas having an opportunity to join the Giants in beating a team with a winning record this week. The Giants beat the Seahawks yesterday in another installment of the NFL in 2020. Additional storylines include Cleveland is 9-3. Talk to me. I'm sorry. Let me set this up. Rapid fire fashion. Cleveland is 9-3.
First time, I think it was since the early 90s that they've been 9-3.
The Johnny Manziel effect. I'm trying to tell you.
Baker looked good yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
Now, the Titans' defense didn't look so hot. People are screaming that they should have a better defensive coordinator. But Cleveland 9-3, good for them. Good for them.
Did Baker Mayfield run down the field? Did he skip down the field on that touchdown? He looked kind of.
Who knows what Baker's going to do?
They're 9-3, Coach. What do you got on that?
Hey, good for them.
Here's why they're 9-3.
Go ahead.
Because they play actually decent defense. Decent
yes,
defense.
They do.
And they have enough. And they run the ball. They got two good runners. They got a couple athletes as receivers. And when Baker's not doing Johnny Manziel things on the field,
I'll say they're
going to win games.
Well, what I would say to this is the only thing that seems to me that has come out of the pandemic is some new faces.
Right.
And that's in all sports. So for me,
yes,
as a person who just loves sports, period, I like that. I'm tired of always watching the same old. You know, I hope there maybe is a shakeup in the college playoff series, right. To see somebody else pop in there.
You mean in college football? Yeah.
But I'm just speaking of sports in general.
Sure.
And so like
we put Cincinnati in there at 10-0.
Yeah, go.
Why
for
not?
It. Why not?
I heard.
It's not going to change their money. So
Right.
I think I heard Baker Mayfield say one of the changes is he thinks to himself before he does anything. Would a knucklehead do it? And if a knucklehead would do it, he doesn't want to do it. That's what I think.
But he's a knucklehead.
Right. But maybe he's got to mix himself up to the top of the
Right.
knucklehead.
And remember, they don't have Odell playing right now.
They do not.
Injured.
I
I
know.
mean, it's just,
Do they need him right now? I mean, would he upset that chemistry?
I don't know.
I mean, he is Odell.
It's hard to tell.
There's a lot of guys making one-handed catches these days, though.
A lot of them. It's all-
Miami's 8-4.
There's another one you just mentioned, Steve. You talk about seeing new teams.
Seeing new teams. Keep
Seeing
it
the
going.
Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick steps in for a game, and then Tua comes back the next game. They're winning both games. We've mentioned this before. Miami's doing it the right way, how they built through the draft. Right?
We didn't
Good
mention
coaching.
anything. You keep mentioning that.
Well, then so be
NFL
it.
expert.
Build through the take a TO.
All right.
Come on.
Miami's 8-4. What do you got for them? They're going to make a little run, or
I think they're gonna make a little run. I think they're gonna be there in the mix when it's all said and done and get to these playoffs.
all right? Is there a reason with that defense for Seahawks fans to where the Giants? beat
Yes, definitely reason to worry.
Granted, it was 17 points. Was it the score 17-12?
them? Whatever they
Whatever
beat
it
them.
was. I mean, that's
And Russell couldn't make it happen.
couldn't make it happen.
They just look out of sync all around.
Right.
And then the defense is bad, but even offense right now doesn't look like it normally looks out there in Seattle.
Have teams caught up to them? That Russell magic.
It's possible.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you kind of go through those ups and downs in a season, and it's those teams that kind of battle through adversity. You're starting to see teams get a little bit hotter. You know what? The Steelers that are undefeated, sometimes that loss is a good thing. Or
Smelling sauce.
yes, to kind of bring everybody back to reality.
I think they had
you
a
know?
little smelling sauce, even though they
Look,
won last week.
Seattle better get it together because here come the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tampa's in the-
here come the Niners. The Niners are slowly but surely creeping up.
Right.
And I think we're kind of seeing the real Arizona at the moment.
Okay.
I think we'll talk about it in a little bit, or I don't know if we do or not, but they better get organized over there because I don't think you're going to have three teams coming out of the West.
The Patriots have the Rams, Dolphins, Bills, and Jets coming up. Can they sneak into the playoffs? I mean, they absolutely they split heads last night.
Throttled the Chargers.
They split wigs last night.
Where did that come
45%.
from?
I do not. Well, it comes from who we all agree is the best coach in the NFL right now. It comes from a Cam Newton who's getting another lease on a team where, you know, he's an athlete. He's not a fashion statement, but he's an athlete.
He wants to be a fashion star.
Right? So that's what you have there. I mean, looking at their schedule, the Dolphins will have something to play for. The Bills will have something to play
Correct.
for. The Rams are trying to make some noise. The Jets,
Are playing for Trevor Lawrence.
right? They fired their
Although I
defensive
think they wanted to win yesterday.
Who plays cover zero when you know the only play that's there is to throw
And the
a Hail
corner
Mary?
fell for like the hitch and go. I'm like, why would they throw a hitch? when there's
Because
no
they're
time?
not stopping at
Right,
the hitch.
right.
It's the go you have to worry about.
Well, I'm saying who falls for that? I
Greg
guess-
Williams.
I don't
Greg
know.
Williams' ego.
Well, I think it's. Are we calling them for falling for it? Talk about the play before. They're in zone.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear.
They're in zone and
Yeah.
let the guy go straight up the middle. He just gets overthrown.
Right.
That can't happen against zone.
But how many people?
To me, I still feel like they're tanking games.
So many people complain about the prevent defense. Look, I think he was wrong. You got to have the guys back there. You can't.
Right.
You can't be in that one-on-one man coverage right there. And then,
No.
Well, look, if you're gonna go get him. Because how does Derek Carr get through that? You send, Derek Carr.
Right? So
Well, look, the Raiders are fading back a little bit.
They're coming back to
reality.
normal.
The Ravens, which we said that they were decent.
I'm just
look
saying,
at you. patting yourself
go
on the
back like
But,
4 or
all right,
5
let's-
episodes.
All right, I'm going to tell
So
you what.
here comes New England.
So,
The Colts. Don't forget about the Colts. The Dolphins. We've got some different teams.
well, we go back to this game. How it affects people. Look at the Ravens right now. That would have had them ahead.
If they lose,
If the Jets had won, they would have been ahead in the wild card race.
Right.
Now they're behind.
there you go.
Right.
Like that game effect.
Well, you had something to talk about the Jets. Are you going to drop it?
That's
a
it.
nugget right there.
That's it. It's the Jets. If the Jets win that game, the
The Ravens are they're not in
Raiders
hunt, they're there.
would have been at 500.
Right.
Don't ask.
Ravens win, they jump ahead. Now, even with a win, they're still behind them.
Right. They're still in the hunt. So are we talking about the Patriots? Because we didn't cover that. That's the question.
I mean, if they do what they did this week, they got a chance to get in.
10-6.
But I think
That'll get 'em in.
I think it's a tough 4 games though. I don't think it comes easy.
Yeah, I don't think 8-8. If you split those games with the Rams, and the Dolphins and it's gonna be tough. They got to win at least 3.
Yeah,
they got to go 9-7.
I would agree.
Week 13 still has a lot of life left in it, but in week 14, let's look ahead. We've got KC, Miami, the Chiefs versus the Dolphins. We're talking about a good game there.
A couple young quarterbacks.
They've got to flex that to a national game for sure.
Mahomes, Tua.
Yeah.
They absolutely have to flex that. Everybody wants to see it.
All of a sudden, the Giants Cardinals looks interesting next weekend.
Cardinals are fading. I'm pulling for them.
I think they win that game.
I hope so.
Cardinals? I hope
I
so
think
too.
the Cardinals win that game. I need the Cardinals to win that game. Keep the NFCs down.
Pittsburgh, Buffalo next week. I think a lot depends on what happens tonight, right?
That's true. That is very true.
If Washington beats Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is going to get that smelling sauce, and they're going to be pissed neast week. If they coast through the Skins, then
they look pissed last weekend too. Even beating their hated rival in the Ravens, they were pissed after that game.
Well,
you saw the interview with Big Ben. They hated that they were getting the rope-a-dope about what day the game was going to be.
You mean the game on Wednesday morning at like 10 a.m. or whatever it was?
Or we were watching that game in like England or something. I mean,
Right.
like, why is it? So I think they're aware of their.
I'm glad you said that, by the way. I missed that. With COVID changing protocols for travel, it was nice to wake up and turn on CBS and see a 10 a.m. game like once or twice a year in England, right?
Right. That's been a while.
Breakfast
And I
at the
think
NFL?
it was Jacksonville because they weren't
Breakfast
getting
at the
any
NFL.
fans.
It
That
was
their
always
whole-
it was always Jacksonville Texans or something,
like,
right?
boring.
But it was NFL football. But what do you think in Pittsburgh, Buffalo next week? Are they flexing that one? I mean, that's two AFC games that have big impacts
And
next
old
week.
school reminds me of some old school '90s. When Buffalo was rocking. And
When I
Pittsburgh.
was a kid, did the Chargers play the Raiders or the Broncos every weekend with Don Criqui and Merlin Olsen or something? Bob Trumpy or what, wasn't it? Every weekend at 4 o'clock, it was the Chargers versus the Raiders on the field that was half dirt and half field, right?
Yep.
Okay, and half shadow.
Yep.
Okay.
You go back to all those stadiums, San Francisco, Pittsburgh. They used to have those with the baseball stadium in there.
And Pittsburgh had the Lions, just the Lions in the end zone, right?
It was the old Three Rivers Stadium.
For the longest time. Baltimore, Cleveland next week as well. That looks like that's going to be a good one.
Ravens got to win. Keep hope alive.
That's where the demons are exercised. And I know it's been a long time since Cleveland came. The Browns were brought to Baltimore to be the Ravens. A long time.
Because
But this is
the
a
Colts
chance-
left in the middle of the night in Mayflower
Right,
trucks.
right. So
Mayflower.
Baltimore had their feeling with it, but this could be where Cleveland's good enough to actually give a.
Was that a coward move? They left in the middle of the night. I remember waking up the next day.
The Colts? The
and
Baltimore Colts?
Yes, and seeing the cameras on the Mayflower trucks.
Mayflower.
Chrissy, did you know that? So when the Colts left here, whenever that was,
See, what do you think?
the owner, it wasn't Irsay, was it?
I don't remember who.
Who was the owner? In the middle of the night, without telling anyone, they packed up the whole Baltimore Colts camp and they rolled out in the middle of the night. You wouldn't do that to us, Chrissy, would you? You wouldn't pack up the studio
What
and
if we
leave us, would
woke
you?
up and we see the van and our fabulous engineer is gone?
And the
Just leaves
studio's
us?
gone. We come in here on Monday and,
Yeah.
Deuces.
just don't use Mayflower trucks. Just don't use Mayflower trucks because we'll be
Next
game
thing
to
you
you.
know, that's it.
Asked and answered.
Don't
No
get
more
me to
commercials.
engineer an episode. We better
more
get Paula.
commercials.
No more commercials. Messing with Paula. All right, that is our college and NFL breakdown. After the break, we will visit the round ball. Chrissy, please, as long as you're still here, please take us to commercial break.
Thanks to our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. Our donors, Redwood Investments, Justin O'Neill, donor, and Winsight Media.
I'm Coach Casey O'Neill with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Advertising opportunities are available, so why not gain the exposure of our listeners by becoming a donor, sponsor, or partner? Simply contact our producer, Curtis Cross, and we can get you started today.
Winsight Media, connecting the food and allied retail industries through research, media, and events. Visit www.winsightmedia.com for more info.
Be sure to listen at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Healthy Baller. Become your own success story. At Healthy Baller, our team of specialists is committed to providing injury recovery and strength and conditioning training tailored to individual needs. Watching our clients break barriers fuels our passion for athletic development. With scheduled sessions or drop-in classes, Healthy Baller has a success story waiting for you. We offer group and team training, individual workouts, or semi-private training. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
The 2-minute drill.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to discuss fantasy football playoffs. Our man from Capitol Grill, downtown D.C., Joey T.
What is going on, everybody? How you doing today?
Joey, we are good, but guess what? It's fantasy football playoffs time. How are you doing in your leagues, and what can you tell our folks out there about their fantasy football playoffs?
Well, congratulations to everybody who made it in. I mean, this is when it counts. This is when record goes out the window. The best team can lose in the first or second round. The worst team can win the championship. So now that you're in, let's get to work.
Joey, you avoided the question. How many of your leagues did you make it in?
How many? My league? My leagues. I made it in 6 of 8 leagues.
Okay.
I got 3 first-round buys. 3 other leagues. I'm playing this week. So kind of actually a little easier to focus on 3 matches this week instead of 8, which I've been doing most of the year.
So, who put up points this past weekend for our fantasy football players?
Oh man, starting off with Darren Waller, the baller, if you will. 13 catches, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He went off. He had one of the best weeks in history, much less this week. So he went off. Corey Davis, he went for 11 catches, 182 yards, and 1 touchdown. Love to see it. And lastly, David Montgomery. David Montgomery has been relatively mediocre all season. He's solid, though. He's a running back 1, but he's not blowing anybody away. But this week, 72 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns and 4 catches for 39 yards in the air. David Montgomery has one of the easiest, if not the easiest, playoff schedule for running backs in the league. So if you own him and you're in the playoffs, he is possibly a league winner.
All right, talk to me about some guys who are not showing up and who you might have second thoughts about.
Oh, man, some running backs who may have absolutely killed people. Todd Gurley, he definitely has not returned to form at all this year, to be honest. He's battling a nagging injury. He runs like he's, Beetlejuice and been dead for years. 16 yards on the ground, 1 catch. He probably eliminates people from the playoffs single-handedly. As is the other 2 running backs I'm going to mention. Miles Sanders is the other one. His season's been marred with injuries. He's back, only 31 yards on the ground, no catches. I mean, he's a guy people drafted really high this year, and he probably weren't even close to a playoff berth. And lastly, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, this one wasn't necessarily his fault. The coach came out and said he's likely going to play. He was sick, and then he was activated and going to play Sunday morning, and then he did not log a snap. He was on the sideline the whole game. He put up a big fat donut, and in a must-win week, he probably hurt a lot of people.
All right, now, as we discussed, it's playoff time. Joey, where are we going from here? What advice do you have for our fantasy football players?
I mean, by this point, there's not a whole lot on the waiver wire that's going to help you. A couple of names. Dan Arnold had 2 touchdowns and 60 yards in Arizona as a tight end. Cam Sims, 5 catches for 92 yards. He had an amazing game. If you actually watch, he made some incredible catches. He was, good in the open field. He's earning the trust of the play callers and Alex Smith. He could be one of those league winners during fantasy playoff season, especially because the team itself is battling to win the division. Lynn Bowden, we're starting to get really deep here, and we're starting to, grasp at straws.
Right.
Running back in Miami, he had 1 carry for 11 yards, 4 catches, 41 yards. That whole backfield group is all up in the air. I would say this, that it's fantasy playoff season. Don't get cute. Play your studs. If somebody's got you here, even if it's a guy, even if it's not a stud, but he's been riding hot, and also look at the playoff schedules. If defenses are soft at that position, like I said, David Montgomery, he's a guy that you might want to start, if you have relatively better options above him, and you just don't get cute. Don't pick up guys off the waiver wire and plug them in over a well-known guy because, or whatever, dude. Play your guys, play your studs, and, cross your fingers.
And don't forget, Joey T gave you this advice, folks. You can find him at Capitol Grill, downtown D.C. You can find him on Twitter 24/7, Joey T 5656 on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, our fantasy football guy, Joey T.
All right, good luck, everybody.
Thanks, Joey.
See y'all next week.
We are back at Secatio with Turner and O'Neill, episode 23. Chrissy is still here. If you see any Mayflower trucks going down the street, you know she has abandoned the ship. Let's talk hardwood, fellas. Training camp has begun. So let's take a look at 5 off-season headlines, and I'm going to add a 6th, and I'm going to make it first. James Harden has yet to show up at Rockets training camp. That's your second headline of the day.
So I'm going to ask you guys this question. Does he have a history of not showing up to training camp?
No. He wants out. He's not saying it. He currently doesn't have an agent. So there's no conversation being had between the organization and his people.
Sure.
Right. So they're not.
Because he is his people.
He is his people. So they're not going to him directly to have these conversations. And I think he's speaking without speaking.
Is that Steven Silas down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm ready to be out. I want to go to Brooklyn. I want to go hang with my old OKC partner,
right?
KD.
Can you imagine?
And a young Kyrie. I just don't think I'm going to say it like this. I think if he's going to have to put if that happens, he's got to put some ego aside.
Absolutely.
And so does Kyrie. KD's already shown he can put ego aside. He's going to be KD no matter where he's at.
Right.
He's played with Westbrook and Harden. He's played with Steph and Clay and Draymond and figured out what my role is, how I do it, how I still
because he's trying to get those
because he wants to play wings. Those two are going to have to be willing to come off the ball a little bit for this to work.
The ball is still only 29.5, right? There's a lot of ball to go around.
Yeah, but they both pound it. They both want to bring the ball up. They want to play one-on-one a lot. And I think they could be special if they figured it out, right. if that were to happen. But obviously, I think not showing up to training camp,
there's your message.
He's ready to leave.
Right. Mm. All right. The Rockets and Wizards swap guard for guard, Westbrook for Wall. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons. I mean, you get someone in Westbrook who's 2 years older, but he's a 9, 10, 11-time All-Star. Someone had an issue with me saying this. He knows how to win. And like, how many rings has he won? But he knows how to get you a run in the playoffs. He has played hurt. He comes back quickly from injury. And for my money, still one of the top 5 most athletic guys. I mean, he can get up. Mm-hmm. He's not 6'6".
No.
What is he, 6'2", 6'3"?
Mm-hmm. I'd say 6'3". I mean, they probably have him listed at 6'3".
I mean, he can get up, and he can, I mean, when the cameras go on, he's doing. And here's the thing that we don't talk about enough, in my opinion, with Westbrook. Name me the last time he was suspended or got in trouble. He did go into the stands to tell a fan to chill out, and you get suspended for that, but he didn't cause a ruckus.
Right.
Everything you've seen his name attached to with a ruckus was a fan cursing at him, talking about his mama, doing things in front of little kids or whatever like that. But Westbrook does not get in trouble. He knows what this NBA is about. He's smiles. He's going to give you a reason to smile in the stands. And I like this guy. I've always liked Westbrook.
I think the other thing that people don't talk about is he plays all out. Reminds me of Allen Iverson in that regard. Plays all out. If I'm on the court, I'm playing all out, all the way, all the time. And he's not one of the guys we always see taking advantage of the game load.
Right. He's going to play.
He's going to play. It's basketball.
Right.
We got a game today. I'm playing.
Right.
I love it.
Looks like you got something to say.
No, I also think, I mean, reading and following up on Westbrook, like you just mentioned, social media, he has a Twitter presence, but he's not retweeting things and getting all involved with all the BS that goes on there. Again, I go back. I think this is a great fit for the Wizards. I'm excited about it. I think him and Bradley Beal are a definite awesome dynamic in the way that they kind of play, but it's going to come to what you just said, that he's like, I want to play, Energizer Bunny, get on the court, can that relate to the Wizards playing defense?
Yeah,
Actual
no doubt
defense.
they have to do that.
I mean, he looks happy
And
watching them together right now in their training camp and playing.
Yeah, I saw something there.
Just looks happy.
And we talked about the off the court stuff. I mean, John Wall's been incredible, but I've
Yes.
seen some other stuff about Westbrook. He and his wife,
Yes.
they were hardcore into the community and giving back and doing things that, frankly, just don't really get talked about enough for him.
Right.
That probably should. And I think a part of that is
Right.
also what you said earlier. He's not a big social media guy. He doesn't have a whole big overage of social media presence.
He doesn't do it for the cameras.
He doesn't do it for the camera.
So
he
he-
just does it because that's who I am and that's what I'm about.
He's in OKC, I think it was 9 years, maybe 10 years. He's in Houston for 1 year. And again, on that social media presence, he wrote the coolest letter just thanking the fans of Houston. And a third of the season, they weren't even in the building, right?
Right.
They're in
Right.
the bubble of just thanks for welcoming me for that. I mean, just classy. I'm pumped. I
All
think
right.
this works better for, obviously, clearly, the Wizards. Because if Harden's not going to be there, then you got a John Wall you don't even know.
And guess what? Westbrook's on the court. Wall, for the better part of 2 years, hasn't been on the court. I love Wall. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even a Wizards fan. I like what the guy does, but I love what he's done in the community. You got to be able to play. Give me 60, 65 games, right? I mean, I understand there is load management that you talked about, and there's going to be a tweaked ankle, and if you got a long weekend where you're playing, 2 games in 5 days, maybe you take one of those off and you get an extended break.
Yeah.
I get it, but Westbrook is on the floor. You mentioned OKC. Let's talk about OKC. They got Al Horford. They got George Hill. They got Trevor Ariza.
Love him.
They got Kenrick Williams, Ty Jerome, TJ Leaf, and a ton of picks. Out from OKC, Chris Paul, Gallinari, Steven Adams. That's a big one. Schroeder, is gone. Noel is gone. And Ferguson. What are they looking like this year? Because they're over under. How many games are they going to win?
They're looking at the next draft.
Yeah, they are. They're looking at, 25, 30 games winning maybe?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Their GM, one of the GMs left,
Right.
did I thought a great job in the draft with the Pistons.
Okay. Pistons got a lot going on.
They do, and so who now is going to move these guys in the right direction for whatever's next for them?
Who's down there?
It's
The coach.
I'll be lying if I guess right now.
Who, for OKC?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
I'll look that up. But what are they looking like? What are you thinking? I mean, what's their over-under?
Oh, they're a non-playoff factor.
Oh, wow.
Especially in the West. I mean, the West is the most.
You look at the guys that are in Horford.
Right.
Are these stopgaps?
Well,
Stopgaps.
These are all the guys who have been your key role players to success.
Right. Okay.
Not the guy.
Not lead. Right.
Al Horford, George Hill,
Right.
Trevor Ariza. Everywhere he's gone, has been the team's best defender and go-to guy, and saying I'm locking down whoever the big dog
Right. And he
is.
can hit a shot when
But none of these guys that you named that are in have been the man.
OKC's coach, I can't even say his name, Mark Daigneault. Daigneault. He was an assistant.
Where did Steve Adams go?
I cannot tell you where. Let's find out. But I like that guy. I like the way he plays. He plays hard.
Yeah,
He's-
knows
I
his
tell you where I
role,
wish
right?
he would have went. I don't know if he did or didn't. I'm waiting to hear you say where he went.
I'm waiting on you.
I don't.
He went to a place that's looking to win right now.
Portland.
No.
No.
New Orleans.
Oh wow,
That's
It's
right.
the Pelicans.
that's a great get.
Yeah, right?
That's a great get.
'Cause he's
I would have loved to have
knows his
seen him go
role.
to Portland.
Rebound.
Like he could have been a great fit for those guys.
I mean, he's a starting center.
Tough finishes. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
knows what he's got to do.
He's scary.
Protect the
He's a
rim.
goon.
Yeah, he is. All right. The Clippers in Serge Ibaka and Luke Kennard out. Montrezl Harrell, JaMychal Green, Landry Shamet, and let's not forget, Ty Lue is now sitting in the big chair.
Well, I see question 4, and you have something about Doc Rivers.
Right.
Well, Doc got a little comedic on the social media platform. So Paul George is complaining about how he was played.
Oh.
Pin downs, different style. That wasn't what fits me as a player. And so Doc Rivers came back with, okay, you want to talk about me? Well, as last I remember, Tyronn Lue was sitting next to me when all this was going on. So I don't know if anything's going to change.
Right? So Ty Lue is there. I've never been sold on Ty Lue. I'm still a little annoyed. 2001, Allen Iverson stepped over top of him in Game 1, the first game the Lakers lost in the NBA Finals or for the playoffs that year. So I've never been a Ty Lue fan. And he has to doesn't he put like a bumper in his seat, like a booster seat because he's so small? He does, I swear.
You're dead
You're
wrong.
joning on Ty Lue?
Tell me I'm wrong, though. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't know if you're wrong or
Okay,
not.
okay. Go ahead. Y'all keep talking. I'm going to look it up and show you a picture. He has a booster seat on the bench, I swear.
You're dead
What's the
wrong.
matter with you, man?
I'm telling the truth, that's all.
Chrissy.
I'm just telling. All I'm
It's not
doing
that funny.
is telling the truth.
So you,
She's laughing over
So
here.
you never claimed him as a Laker then?
I don't like him as a Laker.
I'm just glad we have this segue because except for Ibaka, I don't know any of these other guys. I don't know who they are.
I don't like Ty Lue. So anyway, what's up with the Clippers? What are they looking like?
I mean, I think, hey, Serge is a great get.
Yes.
If Kennard can knock down some shots, he'll be a great get. I mean, they got pieces to be right there. I mean, I still think they're the team that's right there with the chance to knock the Lakers off.
They're the little brothers and always will be.
You're right, but we're going to see.
All right. What you got over there?
Nothing. I was just
Hollywood?
saying the little brother comment.
All right.
You're welcome for that.
This.
You might have just jinxed. You might have just jinxed him with all that voodoo you just put on Tyronn Lue.
Okay.
He might be
Cool.
the
Light-skinned brothers are out.
He might be the key to their success.
Light-skinned brothers are out.
You know what? He had a short stint with the Wizards.
He did.
When MJ was here.
How well did they do?
They
76ers.
I liked him though.
Forget the players they got. They got Doc Rivers. How big is that? I feel like before they got him, you were thinking about this as a place that would look good for him.
Definitely. I mean, I think he's still one of the best in the business.
Absolutely.
And I think he's got a young team that he could teach and mold some of the right ways to do things.
There's Ty Lue's. Oh, damn it. I hit the wrong button.
See?
I don't know what. And see, look what came up. Look what came up. The play. And look what Chrissy, look what Allen Iverson does. He's going to step right over Ty Lue. Ty Lue, you got to play. How do you get shook like that? You're an NBA
Because
veteran.
it's Allen
and look,
Iverson.
And look, hey, I stepped right over top of him. I don't know how that came up. I didn't mean to pull that one up.
Yeah.
But look, there's his booster seat right there.
All right, so he's got a little booster seat.
He's got a booster seat because he's 5'4", because he's Gary Coleman's little brother. That's why.
Dang, man.
Hey, you're a cruel.
I don't like
Why?
Ty Lue. I don't like Ty Lue.
Well, I think our TO rating
Well, you know what?
Go down
I'm bringing
in
him
the
on.
Staples Center.
I'm going to find a way to bring him on.
Bring him on the show.
I think you guys got to have it
I'm going to talk about his
out.
booster seat.
I think you got to have it
What does he
out.
wear, like a size 7 shoe?
I'm out.
Munchkin?
I'm
All right. They got Doc
But Doc,
Rivers.
I think Doc is definitely going to make a difference for the Sixers.
Absolutely. As long as they stay healthy, Sixers, which, again, I've mentioned this before, Sixers
Chrissy's
scare me a lot. Scare me a lot.
The Lakers signed Schroeder, Wesley
here we
Matthews,
go.
Montrezl Harrell, Mark Gasol, and in doing so, they lose Danny Green, Dwight Howard, Rondo, and JaVale. LeBron and Anthony Davis re-signed. So I think the Lakers made it out ahead this offseason. Did they get better?
I mean, by talent-wise, they did. But, again, why, if it's not broke, then why are you trying to fix it? It's a team that just won the NBA championship in a bubble, together, communal. These guys are used to each other. I don't know why you shake it all up. I don't know whether it's Danny Green, Dwight Howard, or Rondo, but they just won the NBA championship, and those guys were key pieces to it.
They got
even though it's
nasty.
LeBron, and even though it's Anthony Davis, the two possibly best players in the NBA, but I don't know why you change it up so much.
All right.
I don't know.
Coach Turner.
Could be money.
Okay.
They did get a little younger in some areas.
Okay.
It's gonna be interesting to see.
I mean, they got nastier with Montrez and Gasol on that front line.
They definitely did.
Yeah.
They definitely did.
All right. You ready? You ready, Coach? For the next topic?
Oh yeah.
I can take a break now, right?
No, you ain't gotta take a break. Let's go.
College basketball, we had a good number of upsets, but the postponements have seemingly shared the headlines. What have you seen that excites you, sir?
One, there hasn't been a lot of upsets, in my opinion. You're seeing veteran teams beat these teams who are the all-star youth.
Right.
In the way that this pandemic has things set up, I think the teams who have veterans who've been together for a number of years,
Cohesion.
they benefit the most from the way the pandemic has everything set up.
Newer teams, Kentucky, know.
Oh, definitely. I mean, for them to lose, one was to a national team. I did not expect them to lose like they lost to Georgia Tech yesterday. Right. But it happened. What excites me again is I like seeing the new. Like I like seeing that right now. A guy who I have a lot of respect for in Mark Few out there at Gonzaga.
Yep.
Having an opportunity with a veteran-like team that's blended with some great youth, having a chance to be the team that could win it all this year. That excites me when I watch the game.
Do you feel like Gonzaga is that program just to get over that hurdle? Remember you asked the question before about NBA players that you wish they won a championship. Do you think that's the program?
Oh, definitely. I want to see them win a national championship. If is a fan of college hoops, is a fan of the game, that is a program, that is a coach
that's probably done it the right way.
That I would love to see go and get it.
Should rankings even be considered right now?
People love that. That's for the subjective, fun part of it, for people to just something to look at, recruiting, talk about. I think it should because of what you just mentioned. Because those teams, be it Richmond or be it at those mid majors, they go and knock off Kentucky or they go.
team?
Yeah, they go.
A NESCAC team?
That's D3. They should have rankings too.
They should.
Come on, man, get your divisions right. So, I think those teams deserve to see their names in the paper and deserve to see them in the AP 25. Look,
I'm with you on that.
And the coaches do the polls, and I think the coaches appreciate and understand who should be in there.
They do the polls, but there's a little group of guys who sit behind the door who get to decide the seedings for the tournament.
Analytics, right?
And I would like to see the rankings be all messed up with different names in different places.
Give them a job to
do. Because I want to see how serious they are in terms of giving those teams their just due when they decide to do the rankings for the NCAA tournament.
129-4 or whatever.
Well, for the NCAA tournament. I want to see, do you reward those teams or do you go back to the old, well, hey, that's Kentucky and they should still be a 1 through 4 seed.
Right.
And maybe this year they don't deserve it.
Okay. What impact will COVID continue to have on this college season, you think?
The same that
it's had thus far. Stoppages, teams having to find a way to pick up a team at the last minute. I think it's actually been pretty cool to a certain degree, because I think you're finding out now. The other piece is you're finding out who can really coach, like who can
you
coach
got a
on the
game
fly.
plan,
because these
like
teams game plan for each other in ways that other people don't have the same way of being able to do.
Right.
And now to have to pick up a game on the fly and see, hey, can we get our guys to adjust?
That's
like that. I think you're finding out now. There's going to be some guys who come out of being diamond in the rough coaches that maybe people haven't talked about in the past, to now say, whoa, we got to recognize. We got to start recognizing this guy. He can really get it done.
That makes a lot of sense.
What excites me about that in a way is random times you just turn on the TV, like we were talking about with football. Turn on the TV, I'm like, man, that's Notre Dame and so is playing right now. I can watch Prentice. Or I turn it on, like, this is a really good game at a random time, because that game came out of nowhere. So I'm excited to just watch.
Guys, I'm going to tell you, if you don't have ESPN Plus, it's worth every penny. You get a ton I'm just watching stuff. The Tennessee women's game, West Virginia, 3-0 versus 4-0, was not on TV yesterday. I can put it on ESPN Plus. I watch the Volunteers, the Lady Vols.
$50 for the year.
Get it right on your phone.
The Lady Vols lost. They went to overtime, but you get to watch a ton of hoops. And for those of you who live in homes with people and you don't like a ton of hoops, I'm sorry. I'll talk to you in April. But we're going to be watching a ton of hoops. That is our weekly sports wrap-up. Let's take it to break. Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast. On Twitter at Turn On Podcast. On YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerandoneill.com.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerandoneill.com and click Become a Friend. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Richard Butts Jr., Jean and Clorinda Carter, Sean Clifton, Paula Cross, Justin O'Neill, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Amy O'Neill Richard, Damian and Brooke Stevenson, Marcus Taylor, If you'd like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Become a Friend.
Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By partnering with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. With thousands of listeners, subscribers, and website visitors, your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Our partners also benefit from our exposure on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and Apple Podcasts. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit an Idea.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to become a friend of the program. We do rely on contributions to bring this podcast to you each week. Contribution amounts start at $25. And of course, your contribution will get your name listed on our website and mentioned each podcast as a friend of the program. We're re-upping for season 2 in about 3 or 4 weeks. I think we're going to go a couple more episodes. We'll have a best of episode. You do not want to miss this. You're going to get some content you've already heard, but you're going to get some outtakes that you've never heard before from the T&O studio. So make sure you get in as a friend of the program because we are going to re-up all of our friends of the program. Advertisers are returning. We are nearing season 2, and now's the time to commit to an advertising opportunity with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Just think about this. If you were with us during the first season as an advertiser, you got put in front of nearly 100,000 people. So this is a great advertising opportunity as low as $25 per episode. Contact us today. You can build your brand through our podcast. That's 100,000. We're going to deliver a 6-figure audience to you. That's what we're going to do. So if you advertise with us, we're going to get your brand out there. Connect with us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast. Twitter, it's Turn On Podcast. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Just type in Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Type in Turner, type in O'Neill. Subscribe, follow, like, add, spread the word. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and on 15 different podcast platforms. Please feel free to email your show questions, content ideas, comments, and critiques. We may not get to all of you guys, but we want to hear from you. From time to time, we do read listener and viewer questions on the air, so join the conversation, become part of the team as we are a growing community here at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Before we sign off, thanks to our engineer, DJ Chrissy, who is here, and there are no Mayflower trucks outside. So Chrissy,
Not yet.
Will you commit to coming back next week? She's going to pull the Baltimore Colts on us.
Lights just flickered
I
too.
make no promise.
The lights flickered? Did you, Chrissy, did you pay the light bill? No comment?
Yes, I did.
That's what she wants us to believe. Chrissy will be here next week. I swear I'll hijack her, but she will be here next week. Thank you, Chrissy, for what you do to make us sound good and sometimes look good. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners, we encourage our audience to support those who support us. Thanks to you, gentlemen, of course. Coach Turner, any final thoughts?
Just, one, it's crazy that we're just getting ready to finish up a first season.
Right.
It seems like this thing only started yesterday. So thankful to Casey making the call. So thankful to Curtis, who kept pushing on me to get outside my box. Thankful for Chrissy, who's engineered this thing all the way through, and Paula and everyone and the kids and everyone who's just been a part of making this thing grow and become great. I'm excited for season 2. I'm excited for us taking this thing to another level. And our fans out there, we can only do this with you, so thank you to you.
When you think about it, I'm going to get to you in a second, sir,
Well
but
said.
when you think about what we've done in season number 1, and this is, we can, reminisce and all that, but we had, Luke McCaleb. We had your sons on there. We had Mike Jones on there. We had, Bobby Horsey, Chris Likes. We had Tommy Shepard. We had Caleb Williams, AZ Fudd. I mean,
Kyle Harrison.
Why am I forgetting Tom Schreiber and Kyle Harrison? We had, it was great to have Megan and Tony Shropshire on this show. We talked about Black Lives Matter. We had Blair O'Donovan on here. And you guys have had a vision. And for those who don't know, each week we have a production meeting. We talk about where we want to go in the next few weeks. And Joey T, he gets his 2-minute drill on this show. So it's been fun. We're loving it. But I'm not tired yet.
No, I'd say the other thing is our listeners out there. We want your advice. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. What do you want to hear?
We'd love for you guys to really just hit us on some topics that you want us to talk about.
And I think in the last production meeting, we started to come up with some more creative ideas
Yes.
and things we can do in season 2 that we were talking about in terms
Can't
of.
talk about them yet, but
Not
we're going
yet.
to do them.
Right.
So, sir, I don't think that's said enough. We want to hear from our listeners. What do you want us to talk about? This is, quote unquote, our show, but this is your show.
Yes.
You fuel the show.
Yep.
You guys contribute. There are partnerships out there. You guys tell us, hey, Carlos, you dude, every week you're telling me what we can do better and what you loved. And I know Leo and your boys. I know Sean Clifton's in your ear. I know he's in your ear.
Yep.
And I know Cole's in your ear and some of your circles in your ear telling us what they want to hear. So please continue. Email us at turneroneilpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you want to hear. On July 6th, we recorded our first episode, Chrissy's birthday. We were
crazy.
we were podcast rookies, So tell us what you want to hear. Coach O'Neill, I need to hear from you. Tell us what you like about today and give us your final quote.
Well, I think Steve honestly put that in such a great perspective about the show. 23 episodes. I feel.
That's MJ.
And what I love about it is we've mentioned that communal. Like, we've broken bread a few times together now. We've had some great episodes with the wives and the families, and we get to know each other. I love it. And today's episode was awesome. It was an idea. We had one of the best journalists, sports broadcasters out there come in. It was awesome.
You're still the little brother, though.
I'm still the little brother. Season 2.
Are you going to grow up?
I'm 1 year older.
Oh, boy. All right. Little brother.
I lose my head. You know what?
What?
I've got to bring the booster for next time. Get the booster. Caps.
Your holster?
All right, my quote.
So hold on. So season 2, little brother grows up. Is that going to be the
So
subtitle?
I'll have the holster. Are you getting a booster?
scared.
Who's getting the booster?
We will have a booster next week.
So that could be part of our merch.
No, season 2.
Take it
Second CO boosters.
I do have something about merch, but we'll talk about it in the production meeting.
All right, cool. Season 2 merch.
Am I ready for the quote?
We're ready for your quote,
All right,
brother.
folks. This quote is from The Hard Hat. It's a book written by John Gordon.
Is that a picture book
It's
for little kids?
He's great. He's
great author here.
Great author.
All right.
So, 21
Got some of
ways
his
to
books
be a
up here on my
great
phone.
teammate. A lot of coaches, especially in our sport of lacrosse, have their teams read this book. So anyway, I'm going to take 9 and 10 of his 21 ways to be a great teammate
All
real
right,
quick.
let's
My
do it.
quote. So, every teammate can control these 3 things: effort, attitude, and your actions. Now, to take it a step further, thought I'd be ready for this. Share this statement with your team. Team beats talent when talent isn't a team. Then ask your team what this means to them and how you become a better team. The Hard Hat.
Chrissy, pull the plug.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. Our donors, Redwood Investments, Justin O'Neill, donor, and Winsight Media. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to turneroneilpodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcast, and other popular podcast platforms. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Be sure to search and subscribe. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerandoneal.com. Partnership opportunities are available.